Welcome to the TMZ podcast. Today, we are thrilled to have a very special guest who's more than just a household name. He's also a game changer with over 2 decades in the music scene and a 2-time Grammy Award winner and chart topper. Welcome, Craig David. Woo-woo!
Wow. Thank you for the intro like that. I appreciate you. How are you, both?
Appreciate you.
We're very well, mate, and we're very excited for you that you're going to Lovers and Friends this weekend in Las Vegas.
Wow.
You're just starting out your 7 days commitment tour all around America. It's the first time you've done a tour like this in nearly 20 years. Can you tell us more about the 7 days commitment tour and where you'll be going and what sort of stuff you're doing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, firstly, that Lovers and Friends lineup is like so wholesome. I mean, it's like a golden era of R&B, hip hop music, and Backstreet Boys in the mix, just to kind of, you know what I mean, to let you know.
Backstreet Boys, Usher, Janet Jackson. It's amazing.
The levels are absolutely insane. But so we kick it off there. But then the 7 days commitment part of it is that I'm going out with a full band, as you said, and then we'll be going out to Atlanta, and we've got San Francisco, New York, Toronto, Chicago, Philadelphia, Washington, DC.
Nice.
And it's a lovely run before I have another show, which I come back to in the UK. So it kind of was really hinged around, could I create a tour sandwiched between the date I had for the Lovers and Friends and a show, the commitment that I had, pardon the pun, of being back in the UK. And my management worked so hard and Live Nation, and we got it together, and I was like, we got to call it 7 days commitment.
Perfect.
So it's landed. So I'm really gassed.
So you're in the UK right now, and you're going to fly over for Lovers and Friends and then go from the plane to the stage.
Woo!
Yeah, pretty much. I know it sounds like, oh, it's rock and roll. Trust me, I like to be there for 2 days beforehand, just like relaxing out and then get 100%. But I always knew that to make it work, it was going to be like this. So when I land, I just know that just acclimatize quickly. I've got my band have been with me for like going on 20 years, the same people on stage. So it's like family. So as soon as I see their faces and they're getting a day before me, it's going to be home, and everyone's just gassed. I mean, you got Jodeci playing on the same bill as Usher doing Confessions.
Right.
I mean, like Drew Hill, Tank, Tyrese, T-Pain. It's just like, come on, Janet Jackson.
Yeah, and kind of like what you're saying, you know, there's so many heavy hitters that are going to be playing at this festival. It's only one day, right? So you have a lot of people they have a dilemma. There's a lot of big names. The time slots are so close where people might not get to see their favorite artists. And, you know, during the time that you're playing, Craig, Rick Ross is also playing, Robin Thicke, Lil Wayne, Mary J. Blige. So everyone that wants to see you might not get to see you. Does that worry you at all? Nah,
it's like, if you get to see any of those other artists at the same time, then that's a win. It's almost like, who do you want to, like, how are you not going to have a good time here kind of thing?
Who are you most excited to see?
Do you know what? I can't like pull out one, because I just feel like, having grown up in that period of time and having played those records as a DJ before I'd released Born to Do It, and then be in and amongst all of those artists as the only British artist performing on that bill, which is a real privilege and honor to be amongst like greatness. I'm just like, Usher doing the Confessions album, which is one of my top albums alongside Donald Jones, Where I Want to Be. Him, when he does Superstar or Confessions, Confessions Part 2, Twister's there. He might pop out and do a little remix on the back of it like it was on the original. It's just going to be crazy.
I hope you get to bump into him or something like that backstage. All you artists are backstage together. I hope you get to bump into Usher and say, oh, what's up?
But you know what, 100, it's one of those ones where I genuinely, I don't know how I'm going to feel, because I just know going into it that I'm going to be in awe of what's going on in and around me. Just to know that this is the reason I got into music, is because of being inspired by half of the artists that are on this bill here, or most of the artists that are on the bill. So to then just be amongst that, it's just, I don't know, I feel it's very magical as a festival, and just at a period of time, because all these years later, I'm still feeling like that 17, 18-year-old kid who's doing it all over again. It's amazing.
What do you think the vibe is gonna be like in Vegas with all these massive artists? Like, are there any plans for an after party, or are you hoping to hang out with anybody when you're off the clock?
Do you know what? I want to try and like get the set list, like firstly go on stage and just absolutely give the people what they need. That's the thing. And then I just want to try and not stretch myself too thin and missed everything. So maybe I need to sort of stick around where the stage that I'm on, but I do need to see Confessions from Usher.
Yes.
I need to see that. And I met Usher many, many years ago when we were in Paris. And we ended up being asked to do, it's called Skyrock, the radio station. And we both were, I was doing Fill Me In, and I think he was just off the back of doing Nice and Slow and those records. And I remember going to the studio and the DJ pulled us both in and he got us to do like a freestyle over different instrumentals. And I'm singing like Fill Me In over You Make Me Wanna. And then he's doing some ad libs over Fill Me In. I'm like, yo, I grew up listening to Usher. So it's like, even though we grew up in and around the same time, I'm a huge fan of Usher. So if I get to meet him and just say, bro, your legacy is not only created memories for so many people, but you're creating another whole wave for a whole generation. I mean, I just think it's so wholesome.
And it's in like Sin City. There's going to be like people gambling or going to strip clubs. I don't know if you like partake in any of that sort of. Yeah, I saw you said recently that you were celibate last year. So I don't know if like Las Vegas is like the place of temptation for you or how you plan to enjoy it.
Listen, I'm living in London. Yeah, there's enough temptation going around this place. Trust me. Do you know what it is? Is that I'm just in a really wholesome part in my life where I feel like I'm entering into things where I can, from a different juxtaposition. I want to really be present and enjoy the periods of time rather than, for example, being on tour is so, and I guess even the commitment title. I'm so committed to wanting to bring such a joyful core memories being made on the tour that I always pride myself on making sure that vocally I'm really on point. So it makes me have to check myself at the door when it's like, okay, you're going to get, or you want to go party, or you want to go drinking, you want to go, because all those things are always available. But I know that my most important thing is I deliver it on stage. Yes. So if I come in at 90% because I went wild in Vegas for Atlanta, it's like, nah, we're not there. We're not 18 doing them things right now. Let's pattern this. And then if I want to come back to Vegas on a solo trip and do whatever, then we're here, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just in a different phase in my life, to be honest. But
yeah, and this new phase, you had mentioned about a year ago that you are celibate, you're trying to kind of change things in your life. Are you still currently celibate, and how has that been going?
It's a great question, yeah, because before those kind of questions would be like, ooh, like what? Like,
well, we gotta change the narrative. No. It's okay.
And you're very open about this sort of stuff, which is great.
Absolutely, because I feel it's really important. Just as someone who has been building a platform through music, that I feel like anything I talk upon is it lands in a different way because I can use experience and wisdom to say the reasons for things. But I just felt, again, going back to the wholesomeness of things, is I just felt that I was in a phase in my life where I've enjoyed the sort of the rock and roll part of it and just kind of not being grounded and not kind of locking in. And I remember when I did the first album, Born to Do It, I was 17 years old.
Oh,
so these were all aspirations. It's crazy, right? And I was like, I just want to, what would it be like just to really just not even lock in for work, not to kind of like, oh, we're doing this for any reason, but what would it be like just not be, oh, we're on a dating every time, or we're in this city and you just want to mess around. What if we just parked all that for a moment? What would it be like? That was the question I posed myself. And it was no time frame involved with that. I wasn't like, how long can we do this for? Or is it, you're going to be celibate before marriage? And it didn't get as deep as that. It was just like, and then all of a sudden it just continued on. And I was like, man, my vibe is so electric right now that I'm just on a wave. And I just feel it's, for anyone who goes there, it's just it's a wholesome choice to just experience something different. Because at any moment I can be like, yo, I feel this way today. Right. It's not like you have to then stick in there for years now because I've told everyone now and I've got to like now live up to it. It's like, but has been really good for me because, man, the studio music, the creativity, it's like no drama. It's just vibes. Like I can't.
So how long has it been now? And also, what would make you like break your drought?
Do you know what? Like for me, it's been like, I know to the date, it was like 2 years now for me, which is like,
Wow.
so, but in a funny way, as much as I was like wow to myself for a moment, it just felt that when I look at what has creativity has been on 100 on a max for those 2 years, and it wasn't like I'm not talking to girls and I'm not having like meet women and just like vibing, but it's just like my main thing was like rather than jumping into a situation which it can bring a lot of baggage and drama because either person has kind of sold each other a dream. What about if I had friendships? What if I had a lot of friends that I met? What if we really saw this one out? And then you could see red flags because you've seen the person for a period of time rather than it being so quick. But to answer your question, who knows what if there's no like rhyme or reason to it. It could just be, but I just know that I just don't feel like I'm in that phase where it's just like we just to betray myself and just do something on a spur. But who knows? Maybe
good on
it's
you,
just,
man. Yeah, it's
you.
refreshing.
Yeah, it's vibes.
Has there been any temptation, or has it been hard? I know you said you want to develop more friendships, but has there been any girl that you're like, it maybe has hurt any kind of developing relationship, or are you just purely focused on, your creative side?
Do you know what? I also feel like it's important not to, because the creativity is, like I said, it's incredible. But I feel it's a bit of a bypass sometimes when it was like, yeah, well, I'm doing it because of work and I want to do it. I feel truly, it's made me more aligned, without getting too spiritual. But we are all spirit, and I found that it's got me back in my center again. So therefore, relationships, be it that they're intimate relationships or work relationships, that if you treat them with the same respect across the board, you then have a beautifully working relationship. Then you have a partner it has the same feel, and everyone kind of is on the same page. And I felt like sometimes in my life, they weren't on the right page. It's like there were certain situations that I was just like, what is this all about? Like, this is just not healthy. And I think that it's just, for me to speak on it, it makes me smile because I feel like a lot of people are like, but you're 7 days, man. Like,
exactly.
What's up with that? And I just love it. I love that it can be what it needs to be. And I feel, especially when I just leaning it into mental health and people going through depression or experiencing imposter syndrome or saying yes when they mean no or having a lack of boundaries, all these things need time. And I feel like if you give yourself the time by taking yourself out of something that is very sort of lower chakra, we just, just party clubbing, let me meet a girl. Okay, move on to, come on, let's grow up a little. For me personally, this is not a judgment, everyone to themselves.
No, it's amazing. It's
and
amazing.
vibe.
Wow.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I like admire that you have like that self-will. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm married and that sort of stuff, but I don't think I could just like stand not having sex for that long. Like, we're all like human and we have our urges. I just don't know how it is possible, like just being me.
But I would have said the same thing, brother. Like, Charlie, when it started, if someone said that to me years ago, I'd be like, cool, okay, great. Like, do what you got to do. Respect what you. But when you actually, you're married, so you understand there's an element of that respect and the love and the cherish and respect you have for each other as partners, right? So it's like having that same respect, but for yourself. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to sell myself out here and just for the quick thing, because what if we could have everything? What if we could have the grand prize, like at the end of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? What if you not only got the ticket to go around it, but you can have the whole factory, you can have the whole thing? That's where in my heart I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's go, and deliver the music, which is important because that's the one thing people need, right?
Could I just ask, you're doing the 7 days commitment tour. If you were to redo 7 days, rewrite it today, and it wasn't like on Monday this, like on Wednesday. You know what I mean? How would it be different? How would
like an updated
what's an
version for
updated?
the current Craig David?
Yes.
So I would actually, the song would be the same. I feel like the beauty of it is the song is the song. Like I sing that with the same amount of love and passion. You notice that we're always chilling on Sunday. That's sort of a standard sort of rule of thumb, yeah. But no, genuinely, like that song lives. It's not to sort of negate anything that I've ever done in my past. Like every song holds its value. And at certain stages, you know, you don't do the same things that you were doing maybe when you're 18, and you don't do the same things when you're like 25 or maybe at 30. But the songs they all land in the same way. So, like I said, just to round off what we're starting with the celibacy question, is that it's just a time frame that I've been in that just means that it's just grounded me and aligned me to allow me to make music that can still hit the pockets. This is not like, oh, what, you can't talk about sex, or you can't talk, but I never really talked about sex in my songs anyway. It was always like making love even in 7 days.
Right.
It was always trying to find a way of to articulate something, but in an elegant way, as opposed to it being vulgar. And I just feel like we need it, as in particular in the world right now, just enough of, you know what, like for people to be like, what? Really? I love that, because then we can have another wholesome conversation, and it makes it like, yeah, let's talk. You know what I mean?
Do you think that artists and people in the entertainment industry should try this?
I mean, it works for me really well. I feel everyone is each to their own. I just feel it's really important to not. I'm not here to preach, to judge anybody, because, like I said, I'm not proud of things that if you're hurting someone's feeling in any shape or form, that's something to not be proud about. If someone catches feelings for you and you weren't really into it, it's like all of those kind of non-said miscommunications, it just removes all of that. So then when you enter into meeting someone, you meet someone with respect, with dignity, with sovereignty, and you have that conversation like, I respect you. And it's funny how it changes the play, because sometimes there's a certain play that goes on, but when we're not, okay, let's park that part. Let me get to know you. Then you start to have the real conversation. It gets real at that point, because like we've parked the thing that mostly, I know, people are trying to get to hear. Okay, let's park that. Right. Then you have these really inspiring, open conversations, which makes for great music. It makes for creating a different kind of landscape to create from, which is like how I did when I did my first album. So I think I'm in a healthy place for me to make sort of a space for people to enter into if they want to, genuinely, because I feel like, do your thing, you know what I mean? This is your like first sort of North American tour with a live band in almost 20 years. Is this you try, like you're going to be back in our lives, on our TV screens, on our radios? Is this like the resurgence of Craig David, you think? Do you know what? It's one of those things that I feel like, as long as I always create from my heart, and I'm able to also, as much as I appreciate and I'm grateful for all the accolades and all of the success that I've had, but to park that for a moment and be, what are we doing right here, right now? Which is even in this conversation with you. It's like, show up real time who you are here, rather than trying to sell a version of you in, because that kind of is always going to be there. And I think that's what keeps it relevant, keeps it exciting, keeps it new, fresh. And so we can have conversations that go a bit deeper than anything that I've probably had when I was in a different space, which makes me smile, because I like to meet people. I don't really want it to be a means to an end, even in interviews. Like, we have this, you ask questions, I hit it back. I'm like, if I could, and we could spend more time, I'd ask you bare questions. I'm gassed about the House of Blues, and you saying you coming from Canberra in Australia, and because I'm seeing you as two lovely human beings on the other side of the screen. Man, you're a good guy too. That's connection. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Good guy. You're very authentic, Craig. You're very authentic and honest. I appreciate you, brother. Wow. Craig, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on the TMZ podcast. We can't wait to see your big performance at Lovers and Friends this weekend. And we'll keep up with you, Craig. We'll keep up with you. 100%. Let's hope it lasts. Thank you so. I appreciate you.
Thank
And
you for your
please make
time.
sure you come through. Even if you go on a different stage, yeah, and you see someone else, it's okay, yeah. Just make sure you see someone on that bill, okay?
Awesome,
Sounds
man.
good.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you,
My
Craig.
pleasure.